Hey everyone, Jay Cottrell here with LPT Realty. It's been a while, but we're going to take a look at the monthly statistics through October of this year. So rather than me going on a really long spiel about the data, I'm going to try to cruise through it for you. Just hit the highlights about the things that are changing and the things that are different. Talk a little bit about where experts think mortgages are heading and answer three important questions that I hear all the time while I'm out and about. So, what do you say? Let's just go ahead and dive into it.
All right, so again, we're going to take a quick look at mortgage rates. We're going to look over October real estate stats, and then we're going to look at expert predictions for both the mortgage and just the real estate market in general. So some of the biggest questions on consumers' minds that I hear is one, when will mortgage rates come down? Two, will home prices finally come down? And three, is the housing market going to crash? Now, I'm going to go through some of the data and then I'm going to come back to these questions at the end. So if you don't want to, if you just want to hear the answer to the questions, you can just go ahead and skip right to the end if you want. So as far as the mortgage market goes, you can see rates are kind of back up. They're back at 7.04% for a 30-year fixed on average. They're depending on credit and all kinds of things, they can be between 6.1 and 7.75%. But they have definitely gone up since they dropped this summer. Now, why is that? Well, part of the thing is mortgage rates tend to track along the same lines as the 10-year Treasury bond. And from what I've been told, it's because they compete for investors. So mortgage rates always want to be a little higher than the Treasury bond so they can get more investors to buy those mortgage-backed securities, which is how mortgage lenders make their money. So you can see um, the mortgage rates pretty much mimic what the 10-year Treasury bond does. So if it goes up, rates go up. If it goes down, rates go down. And right now, the 10-year Treasuries have been going up. Now, a lot of that, from what I hear, is tied to the amount of debt that we are in as a nation. But you want to research that on your own to find more information about that. But that's why you've seen, if you heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 100 times, mortgage rates are not directly tied to the Federal Reserve rate. So even though the Fed has lowered its rate, you can see mortgage rates have gone up. And again, that's tied closely to the yields of 10-year treasuries. So if you want to find more, I've done a video on that before, but you can also just go to mortgagenewsdaily.com or just do a Google search on what affects mortgage rates, and you'll find a ton of information about how when the Federal Reserve rate goes down, mortgage rates can go up and vice versa. So if we look at mortgage rate projections, this is where Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, the National Association of Realtors, all are projecting mortgage rates to go. You can see uh, where they project the end of this year and the first 3 quarters of next year, pretty much hanging around the sixes. Now, we're not there yet, so rates would have to come down to get there. So I don't know how accurate their predictions are going to be. We've definitely seen them not be accurate at all before. But I think the biggest takeaway you can take from this is everybody expects mortgage rates to pretty much remain flat for most of next year. So no major movement up, no major movement down. So that's really big if you're a buyer and you're planning, because if you're sitting there waiting on mortgage rates to drop, you could expect to wait for a year or more. And even then, you don't know whether they're going to drop or go back up. So you need to think about that if you're waiting on rates, because rates seem like they're pretty much going to stay where they're at for most of next year. So let's take a quick look at the local real estate market. This is October sales data. I did take a little bit longer to do the video this month, simply because the data kept changing. So I was waiting for the mid-market data, the mid-month data to come out, so that all the stuff of things getting either incorrectly input or not input at all at the beginning of the month were over with. So if we look at the number of new listings, you can see that has sort of started departing from the normal seasonal trend. You can see over the last several years, the number of new listings hitting on the market starts to decline during the holidays, but we actually saw an uptick in October and November, which has added to our total inventory count. If you look at our total listing count, um, it has made some improvement over the past 2 years, but you can see the trend line is following very closely to 2023 and 2022, which is good news. That means we do have more listings on the market, but you can see it's kind of flattened out. So we're still nowhere near 2019, definitely nowhere near 2018 levels of homes for sale, homes under contract, and homes sold in our market, which is what this total count looks at. If you break it down, but pending listings is following seasonal trends, starting to tail off here towards the end of the year, expected to pick back up in the first quarter of next year. And I think a lot of that is there was a lot of people, buyers and sellers, that wanted to wait until after the election to make a decision. Now that the election is over, I've heard a lot of them say, we just want to wait till after the first of the year, which is pretty normal for this time of year. Most people don't want to be moving during the holidays if they don't have to. They won't want to have to be dealing with showings and listing their house during the holidays if they don't have to. So that's one of the reasons why you see this seasonal trend down as far as pending listings. However, anecdotally, we have seen some more pending homes go under contract in the last week or so after the election, but I don't know that it's going to be a major impact. If you look at the number of sold listings, that is lower than last year. Trying to partly up from September to October, but it looks like it's following around the normal seasonal trends. Now we'll keep an eye on that because remember, sold listings those are homes that went under contract 30 to 45 days prior, so they're kind of a lagging indicator instead of an up-to-date indicator like pending listings. And if you look at it goes to 2019, we're nowhere near that pace of 19 and 20 and then 2022. But a lot of people talk about the market is slow right now. It just feels slow. And the reason I say that is because the pendulum swung so far in one direction that even coming back down to normal has felt like it swung all the way in the other direction. So these monthly sales numbers that we're looking at right now are very close to 2018 and earlier, what was normal for our market before all of this absolute craziness happened. So really, we've just kind of come back to where we should have been initially. So again, it feels worse than it actually is if you look at the data. It's just everything in our market coming back down to normal. If we look at the number of active listings for sale in our market over a monthly basis, you can see we are trending higher than the previous 2 years by a significant amount. We crossed 2,000 for the first time in a long time back in August, and we've pretty much stayed above there. Now, we haven't really made much increases since then because as you saw, pendings picked up a little bit, but um, the big takeaways, if you look at that dark blue line, that is an estimate of what a balanced market number would be right now. So we are still nowhere near that balanced market, where right now for that month it'd be around 3,500 homes for sale on the market, and we're just not there. We've made progress, but we're not there, and we'll just have to wait and see if that continues to shift. And again, this is just putting the point. The absorption rate of balanced market is around 5 to 6 to 7 months of supply. We're sitting at 2.72 months of supply. So not only just in total count, but in actual sales by the absorption rate, which takes a look at the total number of homes listed on the market, divide that by the average sales per month of homes to give you an idea of how many months of supply we have. 6 months being balanced, we're still at 2.72 months. So even though sales have slowed, they haven't slowed enough to make up the difference and bring us into a more balanced market territory. Average sales price continues to hover above last year. As you can see, there was a dip from September to October, but overall we have still been higher than last year. Monthly price appreciation, this looks like each month compared to the month of the same month previous year. Again, you can see most of the months we've been hovering pretty well much above next year. Last year, October, we still at 2% higher on the median price and just under 1.5% higher on the average sales price. So again, yes, sales have slowed. The month-to-month increase in home prices has slowed, but that slowdown still puts us higher than last year. And if we look at year-to-date pricing, you can see the average sales price is around 309,000, which is up just over 5% from same time last year. The median sales price is 265,000, which is up just under 4% from the same time last year. So again, yes, sales have slowed, prices have slowed, but we're still trending higher than the previous year. We have just come back down to a more normal appreciation percentage for our market. This residential market statistics are looking at sold price to list price ratio. So this is a ratio of what homes sell at compared to what they were listed at. Right now in October, that number was 96.8%. So homes sold just under 3% from what they were listed at. But again, the average list price year to date is up almost not 6.3%, 5.2%. Sorry about that. So even though the sellers are coming down off their price by an average of 3%, that closing price is still up 5.3% from last year. So let's look at those questions that I talked about at the very beginning, shall we? First one being, when will mortgage rates come down? So as I showed you at the beginning, they're not expected to come down at all next year. They're pretty much going to be hovering right around where they're at. Now they're hovering around 7% right now. Um, they're they are projecting that they'll hover around 6% next year, but they would have to drop from where they currently are. So again, we don't really expect mortgage rates to come down anytime soon, and I don't expect to ever see 2% or 3% mortgage rates in my lifetime. So if you're thinking about waiting until they come back down to there, I'm going to tell you it is not likely to ever happen. You're going to be basically renting for the rest of your life if you're waiting for that to happen. So take heart and know that these rates are pretty good. When I bought my first house, I got a 7.2% rate, and I thought that was a great rate. So it's really good for the market to normalize as far as mortgage rates, as far as home price appreciation, as far as the pace of homes selling. All of that is good. All of that is good. The low rates and other things have caused a lot of the inventory shortage that we have. So now we're allowing things to take a breath and get more normal. So these rates are not bad. They're pretty good historically. So don't let the rates keep you from finding your dream home. This is a quote from Lawrence Yun. He says, in January 2025, for the start of the second Trump presidency, the national debt would be at 36 trillion, with the annual interest rate payment approaching 1 trillion. And he says that is why mortgage rates cannot return to 4 or 5%, as was the case in the first Trump term. The Federal Reserve will do more cuts on its overnight Fed funds rate in 2025, but the mortgage rates will not move in lockstep. If President Trump can outline a credible plan to reduce the budget deficit uh, and also reduce the overall debt load of our country, then that's my addition. Then mortgage rates can move meaningfully lower, or if economic growth takes off. So that's the other side of it. Or if economic growth takes off, then we could see mortgage rates come down as well. What about home prices? When will home prices come down? Again, that is not likely. If you look at the existing home prices, they have went up after 7 of the last 8 presidential elections. So they're not likely to come down because of the election. They're more likely to go up because, as you've seen in my previous videos, and if you follow me on social media, the market tends to slow down going into a presidential election and then pick right back up in the first quarter after a presidential election. And so that's what everybody's pretty much expecting to see happen now. Home prices are also forecast to rise in 2025. You can see all the different people that are looking at how much they think home prices will go up. The average of all 10 of these is 2.5%. Now, that's way better than the 20.5% that we saw in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember which one. So again, things are coming back down to normal so that hopefully the economy and our own personal finances can catch up. So this is from Don Fenley. He's a local data analyst. He says the Tri-Cities area home sales prices have slowed and until October kept paced with last year's prices. The Tri-Cities market saw double-digit annual appreciation every year since 2020. This year it's tracking closer to the annual appreciation rate in the pre-pandemic year of 2018. So again, if you've heard me say one thing in this video, you've heard me say it a dozen times, we are returning back to more normal changes in our local market. When will the housing market crash? Well, short answer, it's probably not going to. If you look at a function of home value, equity, and debt in the trillions, you can see that the owner's equity has risen dramatically in their homes in our country. So those that own homes have a significant amount of equity in that home. If you don't know what equity means, it means the difference between what that home's value is and what they still owe on the debt for that home. And so with all that debt, historic equity means that there won't be a crash. You can see in housing back in 2000 and during the housing crisis back in 2008, you can see that home mortgage debt was outpaced homeowner equity, whereas today, homeowner equity is significantly outpacing home mortgage debt. So that means if somebody does get to a point where they can't afford to pay on their mortgage anymore, they might be able to refinance and take advantage of that equity to get a lower payment, or they can sell the house and cash out and get all that equity. They don't have to go through the foreclosure process because they have more options when you have that amount of equity. So builders aren't overbuilding right now, they're just catching up. So you can see this graphic after 2008, we went through we went through almost a decade of underbuilding. That's one of the reasons why we have an undersupply of homes right now, because the building dropped to so low that they haven't even caught back up yet. So again, the fundamentals of the market is supply versus demand. We have an undersupply and a high demand, which makes it very unlikely that we're going to have a housing market crash like we saw in 2008. Another thing to look at is actual inventory versus a balanced market. And so when I say that we have an undersupply, this shows you that as well. So this is our local market here. You can see for every month what the inventory level was and what the calculated balanced inventory level would have been for that month. So you can see there's a pretty big gap between the balanced and the current markets. You've seen this in other forms, but I thought this one would just nail the point home that the reason that we're still seeing prices go up and other things is because we have an undersupply of homes for sale in our area, based on the demand that we're seeing. Has that demand slowed? Absolutely, but it's still higher than the supply. Hope that makes sense. So that pretty much sums up what I wanted to get across this month. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out again. I wanted to kind of just breeze through this stuff so I wouldn't make a very, very long video, but I would get the information out to you that you could. And again, answering those three main questions is it's not likely that mortgage rates are going to drop significantly. It's not likely that home prices are going to drop. And it's very unlikely that we're going to see a housing crash as a result of this. I know there's a lot of people that are waiting on those. Quit waiting. Don't let fear drive your decisions. Make an educated decision. I'll be glad to help out as much as I can to talk to you about what might be the best options for you right now, whether you're looking to sell a home or buy a home or do a combination of the two. But that's it for this month. We'll see you next month.